Good morning. Good morning. Happy Easter and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Greater Naples. My name is Tony Fisher, and I serve this congregation with gladness on this beautiful day. Welcome into this time together. Welcome to this celebration of Easter Sunday. I'm grateful for this day, for you. I'm grateful for those who are here with us this morning to help us present this service to you. Daniel Goodsit is in the AV room with John Forsyth looking on, our technology chair. We have with us this morning the return of Bill Dawson, one of our favorite musicians who was with us for a full year, guiding the first year of our choir in its inception a few years ago. And we're grateful that he's back playing for us this morning. And I turn the microphone over to our very capable worship associate, Ed Ostrom.
Welcome, and let me add a hearty good morning. I'm welcoming members as well as guests. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Greater Naples. My name is Ed Ostrom, and I'm delighted to be your worship associate for today's service. If you're new to us, we hope you will make yourself known by comments in the comments section below the live stream so that we can say hello to you. We also hope you might email our administrator at office@uunaples.org so that we can include you in our regular news blast, which relate all of the excellent things that are going on here at UUCGN. One of our continuing service programs is the Weekend Meals for Kids, and our appeal for financial support continues throughout this month of April. Thank you for those who have already contributed to this valuable program in the past, and to those who have continued to give your time, volunteering to help shop and pack and deliver weekly bags of food to the 92 children who attend our 4 partner elementary schools. The need is still great here in Naples. Here's how you can help for the coming school year. We'd love to be able to fund meals at yet additional schools. You can sponsor a child for 1 school year of weekend meals for $250, or co-sponsor a child for $125. But whatever contribution you can make will be helpful, and all donations will be most appreciated. You can submit your donation by mailing a check to the church. Simply make it payable to UUCGN and listing weekend meals on the memo line. Or you can go to uunaples.org and click on the Serve Others tab at the top of the homepage in the drop-down box. Click on Weekend Meals for Kids. Then you can use the Donate button to complete your transaction. This is a busy week for online programming here at UUCGN. Our Mindful Monday Forum tomorrow evening, April 5th, presents William Pickney Pope, retired U.S. Foreign Service and counterintelligence officer. His program will focus on the issue of privacy. The wonderful Wednesdays program this week is Stories from You, the popular UUCGN storytelling event, where folks share true personal stories, some funny, some poignant, some hopeful, but all genuine. And Thursday evening brings the second of 4 Progressive Voices lectures with Jim Kenny. If you've not heard Jim before, you're in for a treat. Join Jim as he helps us gaze from the perspective of the humanities through the windows of science. Again, look for details for these and more upcoming events in this morning's Sunday News, or check our website at www.uunaples.org. And now, let's settle ourselves into this time of worship with this morning's prelude.
We come into this hour, each of us, from a different place. Many of us come from a place of need, yearning for a community of caring. Some have come with a curious mind, seeking new ways to view the world. Some of us have woken this morning with a feeling of hope for a planet where justice can prevail. A few of us have come bearing our grief, searching for peace in a time of uncertainty. More than a few of us have come with a sense of regret for things we might have done differently, perhaps seeking a way to forgiveness. Some come to this hour, sleeves rolled up, ready to work towards justice. We come to this hour from many different places, yet each finding in this community a reason to believe that all will be well. Let's join together in our candle lighting, chalice lighting response that you see on your screen. In the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment, we gather this day. May the flame we now kindle be to us a symbol of the unity we seek. And now let's join in singing our opening hymn, Lo, the Earth Awakes Again, by Unitarian minister Samuel Longfellow. Lo, the earth awakes again, adorn this happy day. Hallelujah. Once again the word comes true. Hallelujah. All the earth shall be made new. Hallelujah. Now the dark, cold days are o'er. Hallelujah. Spring and gladness are before. Hallelujah. Want and mourning into praise. Hallelujah. And for dirges anthems raise. Hallelujah. How our spirits soar and sing. Hallelujah. How our hearts leap with the spring. Hallelujah. Well, I almost reached those notes. It is today, on this Easter day, when annually, since I've been here anyway, we have greeted this day with a flower communion service, where each one of us brings with them a flower to share, each of us putting it in the vase at the front of the sanctuary, representing our willingness to join together in community. And at the end of the service, we are invited up to take a flower that someone else brought, recognizing our connection to them and the beauty and the uniqueness of each individual bud, circling around the sanctuary or occasionally out in the pavilion and singing, "This Little Light of Mine." I have had the privilege of standing in the middle of that circle and seeing you, seeing each other as individuals, but also as one in community. And it has been, I hope, for you as well, a powerful sense of who we are and who we can be. The flower communion has a joyous atmosphere, a sense of an uplifting sense of power and possibility. But the story of the flower communion also contains tragedy and grief. Its creator, Norbert Čapek, the minister of our congregation, Unitarian congregation in Prague, Czechoslovakia in the 1920s and 30s, created this flower communion because of our Unitarian theology that does not see human beings imbued with original sin, but with possibility. And therefore, our understanding of resurrection does not sort of coincide with the Christian view of the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. The story of the flower communion is wonderful in that sense that it brought people who, of many different backgrounds, together in a service honoring their individuality and the collective bouquet of their lives. But Norbert Čapek, in 1940, when the Nazis occupied Czechoslovakia, was seen to be a threat to the Reich and was arrested and sent to Dachau. His wife, who has been in the United States on a tour, could not get back to her native land and therefore never saw her husband again. Norbert Čapek was killed in a concentration camp involved in medical experimentation. The tragedy of that life that had brought so many together, and the grief of his congregation and of his wife and of our Unitarian and then Universalist world was great. So even within the story and the power of a wonderful ceremony, there rests the reality of grief and suffering. Each of us, as I said, comes with a gift Each of us takes something away, and I hope this is true in every service and every time we come together. And I hope, too, in each of our encounters, we recognize the humanity in that experience. Not just the joy of gathering or socializing, of singing together, but the reality of our joys and sorrows each Sunday, where we have the opportunity and take the opportunity to share with one another those things that fill our days, that bring us up and take us down. Our joys and sorrows together, shared together, are so meaningful and bringing us closer together, recognizing who we are, where we are, and how we can move forward. Let's join together in singing our centering hymn, Spirit of Life. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. This is a time in our year when many of those of us who make the seasonal pilgrimage begin to migrate north. A time for us often to say goodbye collectively, and in this time, we don't necessarily need to do that. We hope that whether live or on Memorex, that you will join us for our services throughout the year, throughout the summer months, until you return, those of us who go north. We honor your lives. We honor those of us who remain and continue. At this Easter time, we are aware of so much suffering in our world. Despite the rapid use of the vaccine, we understand that this virus continues to change and grow and affect lives. We honor those who struggle with the illness. Over 500,000 people who have died, sending ripples through their own families and their own communities with their loss. We are grateful, too, for those who continue to work tirelessly on the front lines of healthcare, and those of us who struggle with isolation, with a sense of loneliness at a time when we wish we could be together. We hope that soon that will be true. But until then, let us honor each other's sense of loss and grief. Let us continue to connect each with the other in whatever ways we can. Also, we continue to be brought up short by the unending string of violence in our nation, of shootings that seem so unnecessary and yet reflect the pain and suffering of folks who struggle with life in these modern times, who struggle with change. And again, we recognize the impact of reality of our human nature in the world. And we struggle with that as well. Let's join together in the spirit of meditation and prayer. Spirit of life and love, God of our deepest understanding, we live in a fragmented world that tempts us to despair. We would put it back together again, piece by piece, if it were ours to choose. But sometimes fragments are enough. In a world of cruelty, there is still the power in every act of hope. In an age of division, there is still power in every act of unity. Let us remember that sometimes the fragments of meaning we make are just the right size to hold in our hands. Let's share some time in silence.
Our first reading this morning is entitled, What Will Matter? By Michael Josephson, who says, ready or not, someday it will all come to an end. There'll be no more sunrises, no minutes, no hours, no days. All of the things you've collected, whether treasured or forgotten, will pass to someone else. Your wealth, fame, and temporal power will shrivel to irrelevance. It will all not matter what you owed or what you owned or what you were owed. Your grudges, resentments, frustrations, and jealousies will finally disappear. So too your hopes, ambitions, plans, and to-do lists will expire. The wins and losses that once seemed so important will fade away. It won't matter where you came from or what side of the tracks you lived on at the end. It won't matter whether you were beautiful or brilliant. Even your gender and skill color will be of no relevance. So, what will matter? How will the value of your days be measured? What will matter is not what you bought, but what you built. Not what you got, but what you gave. What will matter is not your success, but your significance. What will matter is not what you've learned, but what you've taught. What will matter is every act of integrity, compassion, courage, or sacrifice that enriched, empowered, or encouraged others to emulate your example. What will matter is not your competence, but your character. What will matter is not how many people you knew, but how many people will feel a lasting loss when you're gone. What will matter is not your memories, but the memories of those who loved you. What will matter is how long you will be remembered, by whom and for what. Living a life that matters doesn't happen by accident. It's not a matter of circumstance, but of choice. Choose a life that matters. Now is the time for us to express our gratitude for this community, its work, its vision, and all of the ways in which it nourishes our lives, from its welcoming and sheltering walls to its good and generous people, from the sanctuary of its gardens to the outreach in the wider community. For all of these things and for the ways it works its magic on our life, the morning offering for the ongoing mission of this congregation will be gratefully received. Please consider a contribution today. The address is here on the screen, or you can go to www.uunaples.org, where you find a donate button and where you can find out a lot more about this congregation. Our second reading this morning is entitled From a House for Hope by Rebecca Ann Parker. She writes, "We come to know this world as paradise when our hearts and souls are reborn through the arduous and tender task of living rightly with one another and the earth. Generosity and mutual care are the pathways into knowing what paradise is here and now. This way of living is not utopian. It does not spring from the imagination of a better world, but from a profound embrace of this world. It brings hope home today, to this moment, and to its possibilities for faithful love."
The Reverend Barbara Merritt, who retired from active ministry in 2010, wrote a wonderful essay to her colleagues a few years before that, calling on them to see their own humanity, recognizing the propensity of Unitarian clergy, Unitarian Universalist clergy, to step up onto the soapbox and preach the gospel of positivity, of optimism, of social justice, of striving for perfection, without recognizing their own humanity and the realities of the lives of those who sit in the pews. She related a time when her psychoanalyst asked her during a session, "Well, what do Unitarian Universalists do with their hatred and their fear, their failure and their rage?" And Barbara responded quite quickly, Oh, that's easy. We don't have any of those emotions. We've decided to be nice. We've decided to have good characters. We're busy trying to right the wrongs of the world. We may regret we don't seem to be very successful at making the world a good, just, and a fair place. Nevertheless, we're encouraged to remain cheerful and upbeat. Most of us do strive ever so hard to maintain a calm and cheerful facade, even when our private world seems to be falling down around us. The Reverend Merritt hits at the heart of both Unitarian Universalist ministry and the lives of those in the pews. We have been taught the gospel of positivity, of striving for good, and we don't often leave enough room to recognize our own frailties, our own humanity. When we come into the sanctuary on Flower Communion Sunday, on Easter Sunday, bringing a leaf or sprig, we are holding beauty in our hands, but not perfection. The flowers, the sprays we bring have flaws. This one has little barbs. We recognize the uniqueness of each one of these, and if we look closely enough, we recognize that it's not perfect. This idea of the possibilities of humankind has been with us since the beginning. One of our forebears, William Ellery Channing, spoke very much to the possibilities of every human soul. And in 1886, James Freeman Clarke sort of recreated an affirmation, writing these words: "We believe in the fatherhood of God, the brotherhood of man, the leadership of Jesus, salvation by character, the progress of mankind onward and upward forever." Hopefully you heard the patriarchal tone in that message. But also in that message is a sense of privilege, a voice speaking from power, not speaking to everyone, not to those who don't have those possibilities, or didn't have those possibilities. It took until the end of the last century, and maybe even we're still learning that that voice is the voice of a white male with European background. We understand that Unitarian Universalism is not perfect. But we do understand and believe in the idea that original sin is not a basis for a sound theology. That while the unlimited possibilities that are the birthright of every human soul is a bit grand in their thinking, we do believe in renewability, in the possibilities for each human being to begin, not alone, but in community, to respond to their own inner workings and to the world in a way that helps heal, that helps move each of us forward into a life that has some hope and perhaps some meaning. We move beyond a theology of sin and salvation to one where we understand that the consequences of our own misdeeds comes through the power of healing and goodness present within each of us and among us in community. Neither God nor Jesus have the power to forgive. Only we ourselves have that power for ourselves and for others, for the things that we feel, where we feel we've missed the mark, where we have been less than skillful in our actions, and heal from those hurts that others have wrought on us. We Unitarian Universalists have to accept our imperfections and the imperfections of others and move through our desire to be judgmental. We have to accept, too, that we can never fully conquer the evil in this world because evil rests within human beings and in human nature. It's not simply something we battle outside of ourselves, something we throw ourselves at. It is here, individually and collectively, understanding how each of us contributes to the status quo and therefore the ills that plague us. The capacity for brutality and the capacity for love exists within each and every one of us. And we have to find a place where we can know the reality of both and face them honestly. Each of us knows we've fallen short, where we've missed the mark, where we've been less than skillful. As the Reverend Richard Gilbert wrote in his book, The Prophetic Imperative, our potential for creativity is matched by our propensity for destruction. The line between good and evil runs right through the middle of each human heart. A community like ours can help us understand our own suffering and the enduring injustice all around us. And we do that by acknowledging that none of us is perfect. We acknowledge our collective responsibility, understanding that, as Walter Rauschenbusch saw it, liberal theologian, that self-centeredness is at the root of most of our human problems and failures. But we do believe together in the renewable qualities of human life, and that requires us to think, to not put on the brave face, but to reflect, to consider ourselves in the world and to move forward into a renewed sense of who we are and who we can be. The living tradition of Unitarian Universalism has always spoken about possibility. The possibility inherent in each one of us to reflect and renew ourselves at different points along our life's journey. We don't spend a lot of time talking about what lies beyond this life. Instead, we focus on our time together, here and now. Understanding that how we relate to one another and to our environment creates the conditions of heaven or hell on this earth. Unitarian Universalists believe that it is our actions or our inactions that have real consequences for the interdependent web of all life. Not looking for some sort of salvation after we die, we hope to find salvation here on earth by giving generously of ourselves, by showing up for each other with love and respect, by offering mutual care and support. There are definitely times when we feel that so much love is beyond our ability. Those times when we are deeply hurt, deeply afraid, deeply alone. But it is in those moments when we are asked to reach out for support, acknowledging the things we feel. And it is in those times when others are called to open their arms in welcome. There is power in community to nourish and to give us strength and provide the courage we need to move through our hurts and fears and regrets and meet the world ourselves with a degree of compassion. And as a community of faith, we are called to offer comfort and strength to all who are impacted by systems of oppression that exist in the world. And our collective salvation comes when we understand, as people of privilege, that our giving voice to the vision of collective liberation is very powerful. And it's very powerful when we own up to those things within each of us and within all of us that hold us back from that glorious vision. Is this kind of personal and collective salvation within the realm of possibility? Do we have a love enough to confront the evil within and the evil in the world and move with each breath towards healing? Do we understand that it is in each moment, in each fragment of time, that we do this work, knowing that we will never see that glorious vision in our own lifetimes? I believe this is the true power of our faith. It recognizes our humanity. It doesn't suggest that we are free of suffering and pain or regret. It doesn't ask that we be unafraid. It only asks that we not lead from places of pain or fear. It asks that we breathe, that we reflect, and that we renew a connection to a center of caring somewhere deep within our souls and out to a connection with something larger than ourselves, be that a circle of friends or a community like this or the grand universe. leaning on one another in the spirit of companionship, of love, of mutuality. That's what a congregation is about. The ways we are present in each other's lives does matter. The way we relate to each other and the environment will indeed create the heaven on earth or the hell. Let's remember that when we circle around as a community on Easter Sunday at the end of our flower communion, that there is power there. Remember those moments if you stood here with us, or imagine those moments, standing in a circle of 200 people, gazing across, each with a flower representing something of another person, something of flawed beauty, something that is both beautiful and broken, and recognize the power that sits within us when we sing, that moves among us when we sing. And when we are at our best, that power moves from us out into the wider world in ways that are healing and good. This Easter Sunday, I wish you the joy of this day, the sense of this community, even though we cannot be together, the hope for our renewed connection to one another when the doors do finally open safely. But the joy of this day, this moment, understanding that we all come into this time from different places and hoping that we can move forward out into the world in love. Our benediction today echoes the words of this service, I hope, and all services. Go out into the world in peace. Have courage. Hold on to what is good. Understand how the connections we make give us the strength to do those things. Help the suffering. Serve one another. Reach out for help. Know that I love you, and there is enough love in this community to lift us all on this beautiful Easter day.